This activity is called No Bones About It. It's going to teach you how to determine how tall someone was based on how long their bones are, specific bones. So there's a scenario that a construction zone workers found some bones that had been buried a long time ago. So they called in forensic anthropologists, and you're going to figure out how many people were buried there and how tall they were, and hopefully, based on how tall they were, who they were. Now, there's some basic background information that you should read, and then there were some preliminary activities that we're not going to do because we're not in the classroom. But it was not a great activity and not something you need to worry about. You can see the activity, the first two parts we're not doing, but it is part 3 that you're going to go ahead and do. So let me show you that. This is going to be the key piece of information. It's the data table that includes all of the different equations you're going to use to determine how tall they are. These are a list of bones that you might have found: femur, tibia, fibula, humerus, ulna, and radius. Here are the races of the people that you might possibly have found. And there's a different equation for males versus females. Now you'll notice that there's only information on Caucasian, African American, and Asian males. There's no information on female Asians or Hispanics. And that's not because the data is racist. It's because the data comes from the Body Farm, and the Body Farm located in Tennessee. And when they started operating in 1970, these were the races of the people whose bodies were being donated to the Body Farm, primarily white people and black people. So in order to have an equation that can effectively and accurately estimate someone's height based on the length of their bone, you need hundreds and hundreds of samples. So that while now they are getting more and more samples of people of other races, they don't have enough data to make an accurate equation based on their sample size. So you're going to go ahead and use these ones, and the data that we've provided, the questions we provided only take into these races and sexes. Now, in case you're not familiar with what bones are what, I've added in a picture of a skeleton to show you where these bones are. Not 100% necessary, but you may want to know. And here is where the work begins. Now, don't print this out and write on it. Instead, I've made a Google Doc for you where you can plug in your numbers. So here's our scenario. Again, it says construction site, and the forensic anthropologists on site already classified the bones based on sex and race. And you're going to plug these numbers into our formulas from our data table in order to determine how tall they were. The length of the bone is already in centimeters, and you're going to get a height of the person in centimeters. You do not need to show me calculations on this. You're just going to go ahead and punch the numbers into a calculator and get a value. If you want to see if your value is anywhere close to realistic, you can convert this into inches and then feet. The equation is centimeters divided by 2.54, and that is on this paper somewhere, on page 2. 2.54. That will convert centimeters into inches, and then you can figure out feet from there. Once you have their heights, there's several questions that it's going to ask you. It's going to ask you about how many people these bones might have come from, and what's the minimum or maximum number of people who might have these bones belong to them. And then after you answer these 3 questions, again, not on a print, don't print out the paper, it's on the Google form. Then I give you several missing people. So based on the age of the bones and the height and race and sex of the person, we have multiple missing people. You're going to have to convert their height first from feet into inches, and then from inches into centimeters, in order to try and match it up to those people. Once you have the height, you can then do the conversion backwards with the data table to figure out how long the bone should be. So you're going to be putting in height and getting bones rather than putting in the length to get the height. You've got 6 missing people. So 2 pages of missing people. 7 people. And then once you've determined who they are, there are 4 follow-up questions. Again, the data table that you need to make your calculations on, and the first 3 questions, along with the last 4 questions, are all on the Google Doc, so you can put all of your questions in that doc and submit it that way. If you have questions on how to do this math and can't figure it out, you are welcome to log in to the Google Meet on Wednesday from 2 to 2:45. I'll post the code on Wednesday morning.